Wingers and wingettes, happy 2025. We're going into a great episode here, and I have Paul Marq with us today. How you doing, Paul? Thank you so much. And Paul Marq made sure to tell me it rhymes with Hallmark. I had to make sure I put that one in. How are you?
I'm doing good, and it's funny because Hallmark is all one word, and people will say like it's Paul or it's two words. It's like no, it's one name.
It's
It's
one name. I love
one
that.
name,
Paul
eight
Marq.
letters.
Yeah, I love that. It's very, significant, and it's Paul Marq. That's why I
It
thought in the beginning
actually,
Mark
I
was your
actually
last
know what
name.
it means. I actually know that Hallmark means small warrior. So
Small warrior.
yeah, small warrior.
Okay, okay. Where did you look that up on?
So Paul from the biblical Saul means
Yeah,
small. Marcus, which is where the mark came from, is warrior. So small warrior.
I love that. I love that. Okay. Well, I'm really, great to have this conversation with you. Great to speak with you. We were supposed to have this for a while now, and I'm like, all right, I wanted to get everybody in for the new year, and I knew your energy was gonna be so great. I like literally, I had to put off so many different other ones, and I've told my assistant, I was like, no, we're keeping. I wanted to talk with you. Like, I just knew we were just gonna
Okay.
have a great time. So I just wanted to let you know, like, no, I was like, no, we're keeping Mr. Paul Mark today.
Okay.
So you
Okay.
told me you said I'm a self-accepting coach, psychedelia. Did I say it right?
Dula.
Psychedoula, author of several affirmations and oracle decks, and you could talk about anything. You said I have a book that you publish called Chakras and a spiritual or sexual psychedelic. There's a lot of juice here. That is his words. There's a lot of juice here. So tell me.
So yeah, I am a self acceptance coach, and I talk
Mhm.
on anything spiritual, sexual, or psychedelic.
Okay.
So we can talk about all this stuff.
Okay.
I originally wanted to be like Dr. Ruth back in the
Yeah.
day.
Okay.
And so there was a lot of stuff that came up, but then the spiritual stuff kind of came out, and I realized that there are a lot of people who think that spirituality and sexuality are separate, and they actually, the sexuality and creativity balance out the spiritual aspects. So that's how the chakras came in. So my book, Chakras by the Numbers, is really talking about the frequencies of the chakras and how they
Mhm.
can balance each other out, and what happens when one's out of balance, or when a couple are out of balance.
Okay, because I definitely had a chat with one of my friends. She's been on the spiritual journey for a while. I don't know if it's 1 year, 2 years. I'm not sure, but she's
Okay.
been there enough to give me information. So I said to her, I said, I want to go into 2025 um differently, and I don't want it to revolve around having to go to church every Sunday. I don't go to church every Sunday, but I definitely, I pray to
Neither
a
do
higher
I.
God. And I'm like, she said, well, so I'm like, I'm on YouTube. I'm like, I'm looking up different like spiritual stuff, spiritual meanings. She said, you're gonna learn about everything. She started sending me YouTube videos, meditation videos. She said, you're gonna learn about the chakras. And then I saw that on your page, and I'm like, okay, I didn't look into the videos yet. I wanted to keep them
Mm-hmm.
because I'm going to go through each one. So this is a spiritual moment. What does the chakras? What does it mean? Like, if I'm someone new, I want to learn from you right now.
So the chakras, which
Mm-hmm.
are it's pronounced more like chakra, like
Chakra.
chocolate.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've met Chuck several times, but that's a whole
We
different,
did. Okay.
that's a whole different life. And really, what it is that there are different energy vortices within the body, and we focus on the main seven, but there's actually a couple hundred of them. And
Wow.
yeah, and so if we were ever to look at the acupuncture map,
Mm-hmm.
and each one of those points is a mini chakra. And
Okay.
so there are seven main on the body that we focus on. There are some that are like below the feet and above the head that we don't really do a lot of focus on.
Right.
But as far as what we can touch and we can adjust, it's those seven main. And so when people are out of balance, you may see something.
Mm.
And there's many different ways to adjust a chakra. It could be a color. It could
Okay.
be a movement. There's several yoga asanas that open
Hmm.
up different chakras. Um, Sometimes there's certain foods that you could take, that you could eat, or certain scents like aromatherapy. There's several different things that you can use, and also
Right.
each of the chakras actually they kind of fold. So there's seven. It starts with
Okay.
the base, which is kind of
Yeah, we'll start with.
in the down in between area. So
Okay. Okay.
it is the base of the spine, but really it's the base of the trunk. So you're
Okay.
sitting on your root chakra right now.
Okay. You can say it. We're fine here. I'm sitting on my butt. This is where it's at.
It's actually that little seam in between, you know. Yeah,
Oh, this is deep.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And
Okay. I got it.
so that one points down because it connects you to the earth, and
Okay.
that balances with the crown, which is up here and focuses upward. So
Okay.
those two balance. Then you have the second chakra, which is the sacral. Now that is above the pubis, above the
Okay.
mon, but below the belly button,
Okay.
and that actually houses your creative energy. Now, your creative energy is also your sexual energy. So, making sure that creativity and sexuality are balanced. But you may have heard certain artists who are like, well, I'm married to my art, or
Yeah.
that's.
Yes. Yes, I do.
And so, it's important to have that balance because that second chakra balances with your third eye, which is your
Right.
intuition. And
Okay.
then so if your creativity or your sexuality is off balance, your intuition is going to be off balance.
So, what place do I need to be in to know like it's off? Like I would just know that.
You would know when things aren't running smoothly. So there's a list of questions I will ask, or there's several different ways. There's body mapping,
Hmm.
um, monitoring the pain in your body, or monitoring where, like, say you may have had an injury. Where does that injury fit on your chakra system?
Hmm.
Or it could be you've got a certain area of life that has some issues, and so figuring out what that corresponds to,
Right.
what
Okay.
chakra would be would be most aligned with that. So after your second chakra, you have your third chakra, which is your solar plexus, and that is between the bottom of the rib cage and above
Hmm.
the belly button. So it's like right in what we call our tummy, right in.
Okay. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that is your will center, and that balances with your throat.
Mm.
So for instance, a person who does not speak well may not feel confident or courageous enough to use their voice.
Right.
So to balance, and instead of some people would be like, well, let's do blue stones, let's blow out that throat chakra. When actually it comes down to they have a weak will center. So
Mm.
they don't feel confident enough. They don't
Hmm.
feel like they have enough, but they don't feel safe enough.
Yeah. To.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that is a thing that happens when the will center is weak. And then we go to the very center of the
Hmm.
seven, which is the heart. And then there's the high heart, and then there's the regular heart. So people will
High
say,
heart.
yeah, the high heart, that is self and God, and then
Okay.
self and universe or whatever, higher self. And then there's the green, which is just like everybody, connection.
Okay. Okay. So I like this because it's basically is sounds like I'm getting very in tune with myself and and the balance on how my day is going to be, or my moment is going to be, or whatever happens to me, the,
Right.
the chakras is fully connected within myself.
Yeah, they
And
are.
how long will it take you to learn each?
Well, there is no final destination with that. You know,
Okay.
things are constantly evolving. You're constantly
Yeah.
changing. Like people will they actually have aura photography that's available. You know,
Hmm.
and people will take a picture and be like, "This is what my aura looks like."
Yeah.
That's what your aura looked like in that moment. It
Yeah.
looks completely different now. You know,
Yeah.
because we are constantly moving. And if you've ever looked at a lava lamp, you know
Yes, I
how
have.
lava things
Yeah.
move
Yeah.
around. Yeah.
Hmm.
And so your energy is kind of like that. It's constantly moving around. And
Yeah.
there's little balls of energy going, going every which way. And then the collective overall energy
Hmm.
is what creates or what we
Right.
call the aura. And so if you are in a space of creating,
Hmm.
your aura may go orange because that is the overall energy that you're focused on. If
Right.
I'm speaking right now, so maybe all of my energy is focused in my throat. If
Right.
I were channeling, it would be my crown and throat, that
Okay.
sort of thing. And so it may go more purple or it may go completely white if I'm in a
Hmm.
challenging situation, you know?
Hmm. Right. Cause it's like when I had looked up on YouTube, one person has said you didn't really start your spiritual journey today. It's been since you were born.
Yeah, it's been with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there are some people, because the chakras have focus years,
Right.
people will say that it develops during this year. It's like, well, no, it was with you
Hmm.
when you were born.
You're just
You know,
discovering, you know.
yeah, it becomes more defined in this area, or it touches this particular stage of your life. However, it's been with you since day one and will be with you until the last, whenever that is.
Right. Yeah.
So some people feel that to be in self discovery, there's this idea of wanting to take things out or change
Yeah.
things around or whatever. And it's like, no, no, those things are what they are. Now, you can adjust them a bit, but they're going to stay in place.
Yeah.
There are some people, like I had one client that came to me and was concerned that he had been cursed and that somebody had taken his second chakra. And it was like, nobody can
No.
take that from you.
It's like you can't no don't think that.
They can convince you that it's blocked, but nobody can take it away.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
going to be there.
Yeah. And you're a life coach, basically.
I don't really like the life coach thing, but yes.
So what do you like out of not saying a
So,
life
like I said, I really am more into being a doula of change,
coach? Hmm.
a self acceptance coach, getting people to truly love and accept themselves
Yeah.
without feeling guilt or shame. And that comes from because so many people are walking around with an idea that they are wrong, bad, broken, too much, not enough.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so to get them into a space of acknowledging every part of themselves and giving all of that some love. Because people will, we see people who are on a weight loss journey
Hmm.
who feel that they can hate the pounds away. No, no, no. They came on for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
They are there, and a lot of times people will energetically buffer. If the energy is big, the brain thinks the body needs to be big to hold the energy.
Right.
And so things like that can happen. Or if there was trauma and you need protection from that trauma, then the body can buffer, you
That's
know.
true.
And so instead of saying, well, I've got an extra 50 whatever and
Yeah.
that I really need to get rid of, it's like, well, no. What did it serve? What did it
Hmm.
do for you?
Yeah.
And then you can thank it for doing that, and then say, okay, you can stand aside. Just like when people go through a psychedelic journey and they start looking for an ego death. You don't want to kill your ego. Your ego is your
Yeah.
best friend.
Right.
Now,
Right.
you can have you can tell it to take a seat. You can tell it to take
Yeah.
seconds.
Take a moment. Yeah.
But this is not a thing that you can pull up and take out. One of the things that happens when people are going to a coach or doing therapy, they go in, it's like, I want to just tear everything down. And
Yeah. Like a
if you're,
restart, right?
yeah, but if you're redecorating,
Hmm.
you don't level the entire house. You go
Hmm.
in, you figure out which walls are weight bearing, and then
Yeah.
you figure out what you can do around that, you
Some
know?
of us like want to just get rid of everything and like have a fresh restart. And I'm like, for me, I just like to break down, all right, what's the most important and where can I work from that and then move on to the next, like a list. I'm like a list person instead of just going back to the whiteboard.
So
So
I,
yeah.
I take it, the way I work is I pull out the puzzle pieces.
Hmm.
And so if you're going to put a puzzle together, you don't just look at the box and say, okay, it looks like this, and then pull out a piece and automatically know where it goes. Sometimes you have to dump the pieces out,
Yeah.
and then you sort through. You find the edge pieces. Maybe you're looking for the corners first.
Hmm.
You
Yes.
find pieces that are a similar color. Maybe they all
Right.
go together. And you may, depending on how many pieces the puzzle is, you
Right.
may work on a section, and this section comes together very easily. But
Yeah.
then there may be another section that
It's a
is
little
going
bit
to take a
difficult.
while.
Yeah.
And so it's important for us to give ourselves that permission, that space
Hmm.
to do an inventory first. I work with the Condor approach, and as a Condor coach, we have a four ins process. And
Okay.
the four ins are intake, intention, in space, and then integration. And so I do a lot of intake with people. Let's
Hmm.
figure out what we're working with first. And
Right.
we can decide what we want to do with what we have.
It's like you get it in order and
Yeah.
help that person break it all down instead of just like you just said, don't just,
Yeah.
get rid of everything. Let's work our way to what the core issue is.
And so many people will willy nilly go in there and just, tear it all up. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, no, that was there for a reason. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, exactly. And it's so much to like learn, right? So I've just noticed, and I don't know if I'm right because I'm still learning, and I'm learning again through our conversation. But when you're on this spiritual journey, spiritual path, and when you are already knowledgeable like yourself, is there any? I feel like you're very knowledgeable. Is there, people come to you and they ask, "Come on now, give me
I,
some props."
I accept that, and I also know that there's so much more for me
It's
to learn, you
right.
know? And they always say it's the best teachers that
Mm-hmm.
are students that continue to be students.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
I'm in a space of learning constantly. And yes, I do have knowledge to share.
Exactly.
It's interesting. I have people who come to me and will tell me about how knowledgeable I am, and it makes me blush. It does.
Yeah. Look how you able to just break down a lot for me. I'm like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to contact Mr. Paul Mark after, and you're gonna have to be my. Oh, we'll work something out because it's
Yeah.
like I want to be on this journey because I just feel like maybe this is just now the call. Like I told a lot of people, 30 for me was just it came, I had fun, I loved it, but 31 just hit a little different now. I want to search. And I know I'm not going to the church every Sunday. And I know I believe in what I can see, feel, and what I've just learned to know. And I believe in God. I believe in a lot of spirits because my godmother is into witchery. So I've also seen what, you know, we've done the Halloween stuff and give
Right.
back and leave the food outside for the, you know, the dead, and we've done a lot. So I'm very like knowledgeable and
Not
or
just not just for all the dead, for the
not
ancestors.
well, yes, the answer. Yes, it's been a long time since I've done that. It's been
The
a long
last
time. I think the wording wrong.
the last thing you want to do is just leave
Yeah.
food out for willy nilly, you know,
Yes.
for
Yes.
lottie dotting everybody,
Mhm.
anybody.
Mhm.
But
We had
yeah,
to close the bubble, open the bubble, like, you know, and I just want it to be such a much pure slate this year and going forward, you know.
right,
So it's like, yeah, I would blush too. Like if somebody could come to you and just you got someone on this type of path, whether they wanted to stay or continue, they started off with you.
right.
I think that's really great because
Well,
it's just
and
so
I
much.
do a lot of empath mentorship, and
Right.
so this is when a person figures out that they have some sort of psychic gift, and we all do have at least one.
Hmm.
Not everybody taps into it.
Hmm.
But when a person figures out that they do have something, and specifically empathy, you know, and we say empath with a capital E, like it's something special. Everybody has the ability to tap into it.
To their
Um,
gift, right? I feel like my gift, like honestly, when I for years and I would go to sleep, but my dream is, you know, anybody who has passed that I know or don't know, but it's related to someone that is still living, I'm able to tell the messages back. And you know, I told that somebody was like, "Oh no, that's crazy, stay away." But then a lot would be like, "Oh wow, what is that? What did they say? What did it mean?" And then what I've dreamt about, what that person has told me, has happened,
yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
like, this has been going on for a year. And when I was very little, I didn't want to go to my grandmother's funeral because I'm like, Mom, she passed last week, but she's been in this hallway telling me, you know, things that's going on. Oh, I could predict a phone call that was coming in of who's going to
okay,
pass. And that
okay.
person would pass. And I'm like, is this a gift? Is this not? But I have to like embrace it, you know.
So many people were scared of their gift that they turned it off or tuned it out.
Yeah.
My own mother, her gift was basically beaten out of her because she was raised by her grandmother, and her
Hmm.
grandmother didn't believe in that stuff. And
Yeah.
so don't do this. And one of the things that giving my mother props, she didn't know how to use it, but she also didn't know to she just decided not to actively discount it in me. And
Right.
so when those things started happening, she was like, okay, so this one's got whatever it is that runs in the family,
Yeah.
and just don't gonna let him figure it out. You know,
Hmm.
it would have been great if she could have led me. You know, because there were
Yeah.
some stumbles, and I am grateful for every stumble
Hmm.
because sometimes you go down a detour just to see the scenery.
Right, right.
It doesn't
Yeah.
get you where you're planning on going, but it prepares you for something else.
That's
You know,
true.
and so a lot of times it reminds me of when you're searching for something
Yeah.
and you go looking in a drawer and you're like, I know it wouldn't be in this drawer, but you find something that you've been looking for since before, you know.
Hmm.
So or you're like, oh, so that's where I put such and such, you know.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
you have other discoveries along the way, and I feel that that is what happened to me. I made some discoveries, and there were some things that I use to this day that were, you know, the accidents, as Bob Ross would say.
Yeah.
And then there are some where it's like, oh no, you definitely don't want to do that again.
Yeah.
And knowing exactly where those live so I can stay out of the neighborhood.
Yeah. That's good. You have your own path, your own way of how to deal with these things. Like, you know, and everybody I feel like everybody should embrace their gift. Like I wasn't gonna take that one. To me, I felt like it was a negative remark. She was a great friend of mine, you know, we had a discussion about it, but I'm like, I'm able to tell someone who possibly cannot handle this type of message what this person is saying. I think that's great. And then it gets to a point where I used to get scared of it. I'm like, why? Like, why me? Why me? And I get into like, my name is Cassandra. Okay, so it's the Greek goddess, it's the voice of doom and gloom, you know. And I tell people that, and I'm like, and then I'm like, I don't know if it's also with the my sign is I'm a Virgo, so I'm like, I can see, I can literally like that's a raven. Something is gonna happen. It happened, and I'm like, I want to just tap in more into this and unlock more of what these dreams mean, you know, how they are, why do I sense this and then it happens, or why do I say this and then this is what happens, and I'm able to tell, you know, people like what it is that I've dreamt about or what message has come to me. Where, like, how will that journey go?
So, what's the dreams coming true? That is the gift of premonition.
Okay. I never get an answer on that. I never got, so thank you.
Now, if you're able to talk to a disembodied spirit, that means you're doing mediumship. If you're
Hmm.
able to see them, it's clairvoyance. If you're able to hear them, it's clairaudience.
Hmm. They're able to talk to me, but I don't have the conversation. They just tell me what it is I need to tell that person,
Okay.
or I just get the vision of how this how it's going to act when it
Okay.
happens.
So your clairvoyance is stronger, and then you have a little bit of clairaudience.
Okay. Okay. That's good to hear.
Clairvoyance, clear seeing, clairaudience, clear hearing. So if
Yeah.
you're able to hear them. Now, sometimes they will talk in pictures, so that's still clairvoyance.
Hmm.
Now, other times you may have clairsentience, which is feeling something. So you
Hmm.
can feel them. You can
No, I
feel the
never had
energy in the
that.
room. Okay?
Is that, yeah.
Then I have clair olfactory, which is interesting because I will get different scents of
Mm.
people. And so it's like, oh, okay. Uh, there was there was a haunted hallway at my college, and
Yeah.
going down that hallway, I would always smell a mixture of peanut butter and fried chicken, and it was like, and I was like, what is that? And so at that time, I wasn't really as tapped into my clairvoyance.
Hmm.
So I never actually saw them. I was a theater major, so every theater has ghosts. And I was like, can I have an experience with one?
Yeah.
But it never actually came. The closest I could feel one, but he never actually came up to me because there are some who actually have had him,
Yeah.
vocalize and, say something. Or usually during a show that he was particularly proud of, they would he would be out in the
In the
foyer.
audience?
No, no, like out at at intermission or something.
Mm.
People would see a person or whatever,
Wow.
and yeah, yeah,
Wow. Wow. Like I said, like when someone pass, they do come to, like, I feel them a lot more.
mm,
And that's why it had stopped for me when I was young. I told my mom, I said, I can't go to the funeral because I'm young and this is happening. So that's scary for me. I'm running back and forth in the hallways. I'm like, I see over there, I'm sitting here and like, and I just feel, and I feel like and I said, Mom, she said, what's the part? I said, Uncle Billy and Uncle Jimmy and Grandma is right here. And they're just like looking at me. She said, well, that's good because at least you
yeah,
know them. They're
yeah.
good people, and they're just, I was like, but they're just sitting here watching me. And I'm like, I can tell you and I can see it, and I can always tell you the dream also, like it, like for another, and it stays with me. And then it just goes. But
So for me, my premonitions started with death and birth.
mm-hmm.
So I have predicted several people who would get pregnant. I have said when a person is, and usually it's because death was really difficult for me to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So I would get like prior notice that something was going to happen.
Yeah.
But now that was very interesting to deal with as a child because my first one came when I was 10. Um, Now, as far as dead people coming to me, there's a dream state that I go to where people who have passed on are able to get in contact with me. And so my grandmother, before big events, I would have a premonition dream of me being there, or whatever, and then I would look up and she'd be there. And I would always be surprised. I was like, "Oh, you came!" And then she would say, "Oh, I'd never missed it." And then I'd wake up and be like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah.
So things like that do happen, where they let you know that they're around. Now, sometimes, if you had a a close family member or a friend
Hmm.
who, for instance, had a particular scent, you might smell their scent. If they were, if they were a smoker, you might get that, something like that. And it just lets you know that they're around. That there are times where you are guided down a path, and you might see a particular flower that was their flower, or you might
Hmm.
see a particular color that was their color, or a particular bird, a
Yeah.
symbol.
There was a lot of times we'll see the red
It
bird
it
and
takes yeah, it takes a lot of energy for them to come up with a full body. So
hmm.
mostly you would see like a cloud and you would know who it was.
Right.
But they have to pick and choose how to manifest themselves. But it's easier for them to kind of whisper to you, "Hey, make this right," or "Hey, today is the day to go blah blah blah."
Right.
And it's happened multiple times where when I was just getting started with this, and I was actually I had been doing it for a while, but I had been like digging my heels in and just kind of I was very reluctant, and so
Yeah.
I said, okay, finally, I'm just gonna say yes, and they sent me on a wild goose chase. But as long as I kept saying yes, there was a reward at the end. And so my spirit team was just checking to see if I was paying attention. And so it's like, because you say in your so on your soul team, there are your guardians, which are your guardian angels. They're with you from start to finish.
Hmm.
Their only job really is to make sure you don't die before your time.
Yeah.
Then you have your spirit guides. They're the ones that you kind of manifested this go round with. And they are there to make sure that you get whatever lessons you asked for this time around.
Hmm.
So they will nudge you around. Your guardian angels won't. They'll just keep you safe. Your spirit guides will nudge you around and you may
Okay.
hear them. And so
Mm.
when people talk about having a guide that talks to them, usually it's a spirit guide. Spirit guides have been human at one point in time, and
Right.
so they have all the personality
Yeah.
that we have, as
Okay.
opposed to angels that don't have all the free will.
Hmm.
So they are kind of the speak only when spoken to type.
Hmm.
Your guides are like, hey, you said you wanted to do this, so get
Yeah.
up and get moving. And
Yeah.
they're the reasons that they're the ones that will nudge you to go and take a class, or
Right.
if you were thinking about doing something and there's an extra step to it, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I didn't feel like doing that, and they're the ones that will keep bugging you about it until you actually take the action to stay on
Yeah.
your own. So
Wow. Wow.
yeah.
That's a lot of guidance, and each guardian spirit plays a
Now
part.
that's on your soul team. Your
Soul team.
body, yeah, your body has a team
Yeah.
of its own too. Because your body has all the ancestors that it took to make this particular vessel.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's different types of magic. There's the soul magic,
Hmm.
which is just you outside of this body, just the energy that is your essence. And
Right.
then there's all the magic it took to create this particular body.
Okay. Okay. So
So
it's like a full round. of protection going on.
Yeah.
It's
Well, it's
everything.
protection. There is some protection, but it's more assistance. I look at it as assistance.
Assistance. Okay. Yeah, because we still have to make the decision if we're going to, follow the path that they're leading us towards.
Right.
Yeah. So it's
And
it's
so
really, yeah, the assistance, yeah.
So, with all of that, because your ancestors have this idea of where they want their offspring to go, and
Right.
they're nudging you in a certain way. Your spirit guides are like, well, you said you wanted to do this, so they're nudging you a different way. And then you
Yeah.
have your guardians that are just like, well, as long as you do it safely.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I'll
so
guide you.
there's a whole lot that's going on around you.
Wow.
And there are people have varying degrees of awareness to
Mhm.
all of that. And
Yeah.
so it makes sense when you have people who are having conversations with themselves, theoretically,
Yeah.
because they're hearing all of this stuff.
Yeah. Exactly. That's really, I'm telling you, learning a lot from you. And it goes back to, you published your book. What year, what month was that?
So in 2018,
Okay.
I
We have
did,
another one coming out?
you know,
We have another
no,
one?
I have this one, which is the Self Acceptance Playbook, and
Okay.
that's available. That is more of a workbook.
Yes, I want that. Where can I get that?
Yeah, so that's available on my link tree. So
Okay.
if you go to buypaulmark.com,
Mhm.
that will take you to the link tree. You can see that. You will also see the journals because I am a Condor coach, so you'll see both Condor journals. I like when a
Yeah.
journal has. There are lots of people who are going through KDP or whatever, and
What's that
they
stand
have
for?
the Amazon publishing. But
Okay, okay, okay.
there are a lot of people who are going through that and have like a hard bound
Mhm.
spine. I want a spiral because
Yeah.
if I'm gonna be taking notes or whatever, I want to be able to
I
do
love
this.
that.
You know,
Yes.
I love that, and so I. It took me a while to find a place where I could get them spiral bound,
I
my
love
book
that.
spiral bound, so that you can take
Yeah.
notes, keep it as it is.
Ooh.
I'm also one of those people that whenever I buy a hardcover book, I tend to have one to read and one to keep pristine because
Mhm.
I want it to look just right, you know.
Yeah. You have to be proud of all these author. There we go.
Yeah,
And you said author several of them. And you said Oracle decks as well, right?
yeah. So my most recent one is Nature's Spirit Guides, and
Okay.
it's an animal oracle. So I can have it right here.
Let me see. Let me see.
Let's pull up.
Let's pull up.
You can see here. This is the what it looks
Okay.
like. It's reversed, but that's what it looks like. And then the cards are here. Let's
Okay.
just see. Oh, hello. One just jumped out. Okay,
Well, I gotta take that.
for you. Two jumped out.
Two.
Octopus and Puma. So these are your cards, Octopus and Puma. Let's
Okay.
do it. Octopus, flexibility, intelligence, the ability to navigate complex situations. So
Yeah.
octopi are known for their ability to, get into teeny tiny little holes and to figure out puzzles. They are very intelligent. They are also very protective of their space. There's a lot that you can learn from the octopus. They are, thought to be the most intelligent of our
Yeah.
species on the planet.
Yeah.
So
I
there's
feel
that.
like those cards like honestly resonate with me because I love to, figure out things that are very complex, especially when I'm at work. They tell me to do something, I like to go ahead and just figure it out first and strain it. And it's like, oh,
Exactly.
okay, we could go this way. I was like, oh, okay, well, at least I know the back door. Like I like to know
Exactly.
how to go through, and I like to figure out how where where everything else is. Yeah.
I love having an escape route, and
Mm-hmm.
that's another thing that octopus is known for. Octopus can figure out a way out of anything, you know.
Yeah.
And and then you have Puma, which is courage, freedom, power, inner strength, peace, and the upward mobility. So Puma is known, being one of the smaller of the large cats.
Yeah.
Puma is able to go on multiple levels because they are climbers and they
Mm.
are very eco-friendly because they don't kill just to kill. They
Yeah.
kill only, and they get only what they need to eat, and they are very smart in their hunting. So
Okay.
they don't waste energy. It's like
Right.
they don't hunt.
Yes.
It's like, hey,
These cards came for me at the because I
yeah.
don't put energy. Like I will put a lot of energy into somebody or something that is gonna do great for me or great by me. But if I don't have
Exactly.
to, I don't waste energy where it's not needed. Like they're like, oh my god,
Exactly.
like if I know you're gonna continue to do this after I said this, I already know. No, I'm not gonna waste my time. It's just gonna I just can't. And I'm very like protective of my space. Like if I know something is mine, I make it tailored to
Mhm.
me. I make it a little friendly if somebody wants to come over, but it's really mine. So please,
Right.
if that was there, put it back where it was at.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, yes, those two cards that I'm literally going to go on that link tree. I'm getting. We're gonna have more conversations like you and I, whatever it is, whatever type of assistance you do. We're going to tap into Paul Mark.
And I've done affirmations because I really started
Yeah.
with affirmations, and my first deck is the Mirror Work Affirmations deck.
Hmm.
It's all about changing your self talk,
Yeah.
and that's an important thing because we pick up things from that we overheard as a child. We pick up things that we were told
Hmm.
directly,
Hmm.
things that stories that other people are holding on to that we just
Yeah.
overheard. We take that, and that becomes the tape that rolls in our head. And
Right.
so, with the self talk, with the mirror work, self talk affirmations, this was just a way to go through its 74 decks. I'm sorry, 75 cards in an
Okay.
84 card deck. So there are some that you can create your own affirmations with too.
Okay.
But the 75 ones are just ones you can go through. And if it's a statement that really resonates with you, then you don't need to, that's not one you need to work on. It's the
Right.
ones that are
That.
tough that
Yeah.
you need to work on. And it starts in the I am space, but
Hmm.
sometimes we need to look in the mirror and say you are because we aren't ready to embody that. We aren't ready to receive the I am.
Yeah.
And
I love
so
that.
that's why mirror work is so important because you're looking at yourself and you're talking to your friend.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
sometimes you aren't strong enough to say I am yet. And
Right.
so you can talk to a friend and say you are.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense, and
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be so much growth within
Yes.
this direction.
So everything I do is either in self discovery, self acceptance, or self care.
Okay. Yeah.
And so what happens is a lot of people jump to the self care thing,
Hmm.
and it's like you're all prettied up and you're
I think we
magnificent.
should go for discovery first. No.
Yeah, but you're a big old mess on the inside.
Yeah.
So it's important to do the self discovery
Within.
first
Yeah.
and then
Absolutely.
accept everything that you've discovered. And the acceptance is making amends with those parts that you judge negatively.
Hmm.
So if there was a scar that you've had all your life, you can say, hey, this is a badge of courage that I survived X, Y, or Z. And so I'm grateful that I have this because it means I
Exactly.
survived.
Right. Exactly.
And then you apologize for judging it
Yeah.
and give it some love. Thank you. And we have a lot of people who, there are a lot of people out there now that are putting things out there saying that forgiveness is the final destination. And it's not.
Yeah.
Gratitude is the final destination.
Right. Because you have to
So,
also, after you forgive, it's like, okay, I forgive. I feel like I want to embrace the fact that I finally got myself to that part of forgiveness.
right. And when you embrace the gratitude, you realize there's nothing to forgive. So,
Hmm.
my gratitude statement is I'm grateful to everyone
Hmm.
who was involved for being what or who they needed to be so that I could get my lesson.
Right.
And so, and it's difficult for some people to wrap their brain around because even the person that did the most horrendous thing, to be grateful to
Hmm.
them
Yeah.
for their part.
Yeah.
But if you can manage that,
Yeah.
you'll be in a much,
Better.
much better place.
Yes. It becomes, it's so.
Yeah. And yeah, and I'm not saying that you have to do it immediately because
Hmm.
I understand some things are harder. There were some people that it took me years to get to gratitude with.
Yeah.
So once I did, like the stones that I was carrying, because every grudge is like a stone, and when you put that weight down, and then you can just float, and
Yeah.
it's wonderful. It's brilliant.
Look at you. It has you in such a loving, like, feeling, and
Hmm.
is if it looks and feels beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's where I feel anyone who is listening to us today or watching us, and you get this embrace feeling, make sure you tap into whatever finding or discovery of yourself that you want to learn more of. And if you want to follow by Paul Marq, or you want to find your own spiritual journey, your own discovery, as long as it's something that is what you want to accept, what you want to do, this is going to be the
right.
best thing for you. And I know for me, I'm going to make sure we have Paul Mark's link tree in this on the YouTube, on Spotify, and we're going to make sure that you
Yes.
guys have everything that you need to get in touch with Paul Marq, because I'm going to make sure I do as well. And this has just been amazing. I really thank you for this moment, and I know I'm literally, honestly, really gonna be in touch. Like, I had to look. I told you the camera's right here. I am
Okay,
going to be in touch, and I am
I'm,
going to that link tree.
I'm right here.
Oh
I'm
yeah, yeah.
looking at you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna make sure that we're in tune. And anybody, what is? Give me one advice, or tell them one advice that you have.
Allow people their choice.
Mm, sweet, right there, short and sweet. Allow people their choices. And that speaks 1,000 words. Honestly, has so much meaning. If someone wants to do that, allow them. It's okay. They'll see if it's right or wrong for them, or if it's that. That's how I feel. They'll feel if it's.
And also it speaks to your authenticity
Yeah.
because so many times we withhold information
Hmm.
and that is limiting a person's choices. So it's the I could say several different things, but allow people their choices just embraces all of those things. So
Yeah.
be your most authentic self. Let people see who you are. Let them choose you.
Yeah.
And if they choose not, then that's okay. Allow them that choice.
Exactly.
And give them as much information as you have. Don't gatekeep.
Yeah.
Give them the information. Let them make a learned choice. And that way you'll know when they choose you, they
Hmm.
chose you knowledgeably.
Right.
And they really are choosing you. Because there are people who are bending themselves into pretzels trying to be, breaking their back trying to be something for somebody else. And That's a tap dance. You start
Uh
spinning
huh.
a plate, and at some point in time, a plate's gonna fall, and then they all start to fall.
And then they break.
So if you can just be your most authentic self and allow people all of that information, and then they get to choose you, and you get
Right.
to choose them.
And that's the beauty of it. That is being able to choose and having your perspective on that. Well, thank you so much. Like I had a great time. I had a great
Thank
time,
you.
full of knowledge. Like I said, you're very knowledgeable, and I've taken something from you today, so I thank you for that. I know I'll be in touch. Everybody who's listening, anybody who's watching, allow yourself because I'm going to as well.
Allow. Be in flow. Just allow.
Yeah. Thank you so much for this. I appreciate you coming on to the Winging It podcast and
I'm
so
so
much
happy
more.
to be here.
Yes, thank you. Winger and Wingettes, stay tuned. Find us on Apple, iTunes, YouTube, wherever you can. And Paul Mark's information is right there on the link tree and it will be posted here as well. Later, Wingers.